Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rich Overton, and I am the Senior Manager of Operations at INCLUDEnyc. INCLUDEnyc is the Family and Community Engagement Center for all 5 boroughs of New York City. We provide training and information for young people with disabilities, ages 0 to 26, their families, and professionals who support them. You can find us at www.includenyc.org. I want to welcome you today to our INCLUDEnyc Live webinar series. INCLUDEnyc Live is our monthly interactive live stream, usually on the 3rd Thursday of every month. We keep these discussions under 60 minutes. During this live stream, we will use the chat box. So if you have any questions, please add them to the chat and we will do our best to get to them by the end of the discussion. Also, you should have received materials by email to accompany this webinar. But if you didn't, there's also a link below the screen where you can download the materials if needed. Today, we will be discussing New York City recreation programs for all. Our special guest today is Christopher Noel, ADA Accessibility Coordinator at the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Rich. Great to be here.
So our goal for the live stream today is to provide you with information about recreation programs around New York City that you may not be aware of. We strive to share information about programs that motivate your kids to have fun, take part in various activities, and make connections. So there's a lot to cover, so let's get started.
Sure.
So Chris, first and foremost, please tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to be the Accessibility Coordinator at the Parks Department.
Sure. Well, as Rich mentioned, I'm the Accessibility Coordinator. It's great. I came into this position after Commissioner Khaleesi ascended up. The Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, former Commissioner Matt Zapplin, after his passing, obviously Victor was the perfect person for that position since he was the city's first Accessibility Coordinator. So once this position became available in parks, I applied for it, and thank God I got the job because I love what I do and I love the people I work with and the people that we work for.
That's amazing. And we'll get into how we've worked together over the years as well. But I know initially, the New York City Parks Department offers a wide range of recreation programs for all.
Sure.
Can you list some of those programs that you offer?
Sure. Well, we do a lot of outdoor events during the summertime. It could be wheelchair basketball, wheelchair softball, wheelchair football, and not only just for wheelchair users, but we do sit aerobics. We have camping. We do our Alley Pond Park Adventure Course, which is pretty cool. So we have a number of programs that go on in our parks and in our recreation centers that many people can take part in, especially Shape Up New York, which is a great program that's growing, and it's a great benefit to the communities that it serves.
Incredible. And what, if any, are some of the requirements to be part of these programs?
Well, generally, we try to get children 8 years and older, but for the most part, we want people just to show up. So if we're having an event, whether it be in our recreation center or we're putting a call out for people to attend one of our outdoor events, it's just about showing up.
Right.
It doesn't really matter if you're disabled or not. We always try to make sure we accommodate all who attend.
Great.
So yeah, it's great.
Are these programs free?
For the most part, they're free. We do have some that do cost, such as our adventure course. There's a slight fee if you go for like such a large group goes or what have you, but it's a great adventure course. But there are times where I believe Sundays it's free, and it's done on a first come, first served basis. So it's really about going to our website, nyc.gov/parks, finding that program and getting more detailed information because they do vary. But for the most part, we try to give back to the communities by having outdoor events that are sometimes free to the public.
Great. And I know, how about any like age restrictions for the programs generally?
Generally, no. We'll indicate if it's for children, teens, or adults. So I guess that would be the restriction. If it's for children, we want adults coming and trying to block all the little kid shots, if they're an adult.
Right.
But for the most part, it'll be listed what age group we're looking for.
And I'm curious, I know a lot of people watching, like, they just curious about the application process. So how would actually either a young person or a parent on behalf of the young person apply for these programs?
They would go to our website and look for the program, and there's usually an email address or a link, and they would just click on that link, and it'll put them, I guess, in one of our database lists. And then the person who's managing that program will call them back or shoot them an email and give them more specifics, or to let them know that we've gotten a request to RSVP for the event and give them more details.
That's great.
Once they sign up.
And what is the best time? There's so many programs. What would you advise a best time of year to apply?
I would say usually we have seasonal events. So once the word gets out and once we kind of promote it, I would say you should try to RSVP quickly just to make sure you ensure that you have a spot. So that's the main thing. So it really depends on the timing of the event and the person just following through, and I'd say registering earlier than later.
Earlier than later.
Yes,
right.
It always helps.
And in terms of capacity for the programs, obviously earlier the better is to apply.
Yes.
Are there a certain number of slots? Should parents be concerned that it's going to be not a probability that their young person?
For the most part, we generally have enough capacity space to have a large crowd show up. If it is an event that we're doing, we try to, I guess, project how many people have shown up in years past and have enough staff to adequately deal with whoever shows up. But when you RSVP on that list, it gives us a great heads up on how many people we could generally expect and make sure that we have enough staff there to accommodate all.
That's great. So knowing that this year is flying by already, summer is just around the corner.
Sure.
Right? Can you tell me a little bit about your summer camps initiative?
Oh, sure. Summer camps are great. It's done by lottery. Actually, the lottery starts soon. I believe it's March 6th to the 15th.
Okay.
And you put your obviously your request in. A parent would do that for their child, and then they get chosen obviously through lottery selection, and it starts in July and generally ends in August. So it's about 7 weeks that we go for summer camp, but it's a great experience. Obviously, there's a cost to it. It's about $500 for the summer. I believe $575 if you want to have your child stay later in the evenings or the day.
Okay.
But we have tons of activities for them to do during the summer, and it's a great thing.
Can you share some of those activities?
Yeah, well, they go to movies, they go to field events, they do things outside of just staying inside of a recreation center or in sort of one space. But the key thing is with our summer camps, we want to make sure that obviously we have a diverse group of children. We want to make sure that we do many different things that captures their attention so that it is worth the money that their parents are spending. And I believe from what I've heard from parents in years past that we do a great job in keeping those children in tune and emotionally attached to their camp leaders. Which is great because then that means next year they want to try to apply again and get in the lottery.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so our team for our summer camps and public programs does a great job.
So, and just remind us, I mean, I know with the summer camps initiative, there is a lottery associated with it. And it's a day camp, and the age range is what again?
Well, it starts at age 6, I believe 6 to 13.
6 to 13. Okay, great. And when would I hear if I were to go online and apply for the lottery on behalf of my child? How long would it take?
Well, the lottery usually it lasts about a week when you can apply, and I believe maybe 2 weeks after, a week or two afterwards, parents would get the heads up because we would want them to know. Obviously, we have a payment program with our summer camp, so we do try to get back to the parents to let them know that their child has been selected. And if they're not able to pay all of the money up front, obviously we have a payment program and as well as needing doctor's forms. So we try not to wait right until the start of camp to let parents know because there's a lot of documentation that we want to get taken care of first. In addition to payments, we wouldn't want it to be a hardship on parents for their child to experience this great program.
Absolutely. I also read about the summer sports experience. Can you share a little bit more details?
That's great. So what we do is that's a free program, and that's what we do in our parks. And we have, I wouldn't say camp counselors, but we have recreation staff that's seasonal that work through the summer, and they work with these kids and teach them various sports. So it's a great thing. So if you have a child that's athletic and really likes to want to improve on that or increase their competitiveness, we would encourage that, because we have staff that's trained to teach them different sports, whether it's inside our recreation centers or outside in our fields. We keep them definitely on the move. And that's great, because it's great for kids to kind of get that physical activity during the summer. Instead of sitting around playing video games, they can actually be playing sports and competing against each other. And it accumulates all at the end, where we have a great big picnic and all of the kids compete against each other, and we have various events. So it's a great thing. And I've been out there a number of times, and it's been great to see.
That's incredible. And I'm sure in for programs like this, I mean, these are one ways that young people can connect and potentially make lifelong friendships as well.
Of course, and that's what they say about parks and playgrounds. You meet a friend in a playground, and that's your lifelong buddy, So we try to instill that in a lot of our programs that we do, even if it's outside of a playground or a park. Our programming is made so that people in the community can, children, teens, and adults, meet each other and find new friends and find common interests.
That's great. And so you mentioned that the summer sports experience is a free program,
yes,
correct? And then in terms of ages for the summer sports experience?
We start at 8 years old, I believe 8 to 13.
Okay.
So it's a little older, because we want the kids, once they come, to be kind of independent and ready to play.
Awesome. Community Parks Initiative. Tell me a little bit more about that initiative.
Well, that's part of our Kids in Motion program, where we have parents bring their child to one of our playgrounds, sometimes newly constructed through our Community Parks Initiative program, at reconstructed parks that haven't been touched in a long time. So it's almost like re-inviting community members back to the park that they might have grown up on, but now it's like with new amenities, new features. And we'll do things such as arts and crafts, and they'll do various activities with the child in the playground, kind of getting that child more familiar with this playground. So after the summertime is over, they can obviously come back to this playground and play with their friends. And we've done a great job. Our landscape architects and designers did a great job in designing these new playgrounds. So it's good that we're investing time and staff to bring people into it, so that they get used to coming to their playgrounds again, especially children with various disabilities, because our Community Parks Initiative playgrounds, we made sure in all playgrounds, not just CPI playgrounds, to have sensory panels, play equipment that children of all abilities can play with, as well as ramp play features. So this is a good way to have parents bring their children to the park and have new activities to do with our staff or without our staff, but it's just getting them into our parks and our playgrounds.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about summer programs, the Community Parks Initiative. There are also many year-round programs.
Oh, sure.
That you all host. What types of programs fall under that category?
Well, I would say one would be adaptive swimming. That's a great program that happens indoor and outdoor in our recreation centers in the cold weather months, and outdoors at many more facilities at our outdoor pools. So adaptive swimming, that's another program where it's lottery based.
Okay.
Because we have so many people that want to attend. But we do indoor sports such as I mentioned, wheelchair basketball goes year round. We have Sit and Fit. We have Shape Up New York. So there are a lot of programs that do happen indoor and outdoor. And obviously in our recreation centers, for the most part, we would encourage people to become members to take part in those programs.
Great.
Because they are year round. So obviously during the colder weather months, we bring it inside. And that's where it's usually the benefits of the member come into effect,
Totally. And you talked to me a little bit, you mentioned the recreation centers as well,
yes,
right? So can you tell me a little bit more about, what goes on at the recreation centers and what types of programs that they...
Well, the thing is, recreation center, to a lot of people that live in the communities, that's like their second home. So similar to the playgrounds, how you grow up in a playground and get lifelong friends, we've seen it in various communities within the 5 boroughs where you have people, children who grew up in that recreation center, and they played in that recreation center and participated, and a lot of times they wound up becoming park staff.
Oh,
Because
wow.
that's happened a number of times with a number of our staff who actually were encouraged by, I guess, the care and treatment they received when they attended a program at our recreation center and decided, hey, I want to be a recreation center, staff employee as well. Be a recreational director, a recreational specialist, and do what they were kind of taught growing up. So it's great. It's almost goes full circle sometimes.
So within those recreation centers, I mean, there could be fitness, there can be computer programs.
Sure. Our media education lab is a very big draw.
Wow.
Because we do so much programming to teach people. And like I said, for the cost of membership and what you can learn in our media education labs, it's tremendous. So we do, and also we have our indoor swimming as well. So if you're not part of the adaptive swimming, but you're able to swim independently, a lot of our indoor recreation centers have great pools that are well taken care of. And every pool in New York City, indoor and outdoor, has an ADA pool lift. So there's not, and that's for our large size pools, maybe not the mini pools that are available during the summer, but for our large pools and all of our pools in our recreation centers, they all have an ADA lift. Oh, wow. So that means that if a person has issues getting in or out of the pool, that ADA pool lift comes in very handy.
Wow, that's great. And how would I become a member? Like if I'm not even aware of where my closest recreation center is, how would I find that information out?
Well, you can always go to our website, nyc.gov/parks, and click on the tab for facilities, and it'll list everything in the 5 boroughs. Or you can always call 311 and ask, you could say, well, my name is Chris Noel, and I live at this address. What's the closest recreation center to me? And 311 could help assist. And you would just go to that recreation center and sign up.
And what are the costs to be a member?
Well, for persons with disabilities, as long as you have a valid half-fare Metro card, an Accessor ride card, or a ADA placard, or if you're a veteran, you get a $25 yearly membership. So that means for $25, you can participate in all activities for a year. Wow. But generally for children up to age 17, it's free.
Oh, wow.
18 to 24, it's $25. 25, I believe, to 61, it becomes a little bit more expensive. But considering other gyms out there, we're very affordable. It's $150 for the year, and that gives you access to all of our recreation centers and all of the 5 boroughs with a swimming pool. For the recreation center that you sign up with that doesn't have a swimming pool and swimming isn't your fancy, then that's $100 for the year. But we also do 6-month plans. So for the recreation centers that you want to attend with pools, that's $75. For the ones without pools, it's $50 on our 6-month plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we encourage all to come sign up and be a member.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned under age 17 is free for
it's free for children.
So if I were a parent and I wanted to sign my child up who's under age 17, do I have to pay to become a member if I wanted to accompany them?
No. So especially if your child has a disability and you want to be there as a caregiver. Caregivers, aides, home health aides, they never pay a fee. Even if you're a staff member, so such as we have adult day programs that attend, and we have staff members that attend with them. But the staff members would never have to pay because they're there with their client. So as long as their client is safe in the facility and obviously a paid member, the member can participate in anything, and the staff member can be there to just make sure that their client is fine. But if the client or the parent or the caregiver says, hey, well, my child is fine over there, I'm going to go lift some weights and work out, then there's a little bit of a discrepancy. But for the most part, everyone plays by the rules. And we've also seen some people sign up just so that while their child or the person that they're looking after is working out, they can get a workout as well. So we've seen both sides of it. But for the most part, everyone plays fair.
So, I mean, we're covering a lot of ground here, a lot of different programs. It seems to be like there's something for everyone. Say, for instance, if I had a child on the autism spectrum who loves animals, is there something that they can involve?
Oh, sure. Well, we have zoos. We have gardens in every park. We also have a number of horseback riding, therapeutic horseback riding is very great for children within the spectrum. Also children with cerebral palsy, it works well for. And we have those in all the 5 boroughs as well.
Great.
Adaptive horseback riding. Gallup, New York is a great partner that we work with, but we also do it in Pelham Bay, in Cortland, Prospect, Ocean Breeze. So we have a number of facilities where we do have these therapeutic horseback riding programs, and we think that a lot of parents should reach out to them. When I've gone to a number of these stables to meet with the staff and kind of see what's going on and how accessible the site is, the one thing they always ask for is for more participation from children with disabilities, because that's what the horses are trained for.
Right.
And I guess a program like this, it'll put it out more to say, hey, if you have a child with a disability, or if you're a teen or adult with a disability, come discover what New York City Parks has to offer. We offer a lot. And we haven't even gotten into, I guess, older adults and seniors where they can go to visit our historic houses and things of that nature. We're even trying to make those more accessible than they currently are. Obviously, they were built a long time ago, before accessibility was really as needed as it is now, or at least as it should have been back then, but wasn't done.
Right.
So we try to accommodate and make the best that we can within the landmarks, process. But we have a number of things that New York City Parks offers, and I think people should definitely take advantage of it, being a New York City resident.
That's incredible. And just to do a quick review before we move on to our next part of the discussion, could you just quickly break down for us, like, the free programs versus which programs cost a fee versus the lottery? Could you just?
Well, the lottery would be our adaptive swim and our summer camp. A free program would be something like Shape Up New York, or our outdoor events, such as when we have flag football or wheelchair football, or wheelchair softball, and things of that nature. And then obviously we have recreation center events such as the Sit and Fit and the Meet Education Labs, independent swimming on your own. We do a lot of fitness. So if you want to go work out in our workout rooms, use the treadmill, or if you're a person with a disability, use the Sci-Fit machine, which gives you great upper body endurance. So those would be the paid programs. By becoming a member, you would take part in that. But as I mentioned, the best thing about our website is that we have a calendar of events, and we also have a tab for programs. So you can always go in. If you're someone watching this program now and want to tell someone else about it, they can always go to our website, and we have tons of information. Our new media team, our web team, does a great job at updating our site so that it's real-time data that's on there.
It's amazing. I mean, we personally worked with many members of your staff who are all amazing. But I'm sure parents might be wondering: is your staff trained to work with young people with disabilities as well?
Yeah, well, we do disability etiquette training for our staff. A lot of times we'll have representatives from the mayor's office for people with disabilities come assist. We have our adaptive sports coordinator, Paul Ward, who does training for the recreation staff. I've done it a number of times. So we want to make sure that our staff is well aware of, how they should present themselves to someone with a disability, and make sure that they're accommodated within our facilities. And I think we do a great job. A lot of times our staff is asking for the training. A lot of times we have staff members that have family members or friends who are disabled. So they look forward to the training, or kind of already have an advanced idea of disability etiquette, which is important.
Absolutely.
So our staff takes to that very willingly. And that's a great thing, because it obviously helps them in the workplace, but then it also helps you out in the public when dealing with anyone with a disability. Things that you should say, shouldn't say, how you should treat a person or versus not. Assuming, because that person has a wheelchair cane, I'm just gonna make sure I open every door for them, or just if I see this person with a walking stick, I'm just gonna walk with them and lead them. before even asking the person if they need assistance.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's little things like that we teach our staff, and it goes a long way outside of the job,
Yeah.
outside of the workplace.
Thanks for sharing that. And in terms of a parent's role, could you speak to, a parent's role in getting their child involved with any of these programs as well?
I would say the main thing is the parent should get their children involved in anything and everything that we have to offer.
Right.
Because as I mentioned, it's a second home to a number of people who live in the immediate neighborhood of the recreation center or park.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say we have tons of programming available, as we just spoke about, year-round, and sometimes seasonal. So I would just say for the parent to encourage their child to take part.
Right.
Because it only helps them. With children nowadays, with the level of obesity and the bad sugary things that we eat and the things that are horrible for us, like fast food, it's good to kind of get them into the mode of going and seeing what our recreation centers can do for them in terms of physical fitness.
Right.
And training them. We've done a number of programs where we teach parents and children what are the proper things to eat.
Right.
Sometimes you need that type of assistance, and obviously we're a city agency, so we want to make sure that the public is well aware of things to stay healthy. I mean, we're New York City Parks and Recreation.
Right.
So it's part of our job to make sure that the people who come in through our doors have that information to kind of help them live a better, healthier life, which is very important, especially for children, getting them in the mold of eating vegetables, and at an early age, and staying away from a lot of soda,
It's very important.
stuff that's bad for you.
And I'm trying to think of, some challenges that, a parent may face. Say they were transportation issues. What could they do to help alleviate?
Well, I would say parents should always look into getting the Accessor ride program. It's I'd say the most affordable way to get around. Or travel and see which stations. Obviously, we're increasing the amount of stations with elevators to make them more accessible. So I would say I would teach them about public transportation and getting around. So eventually, once they become older, especially if this child has a disability, they're able to kind of do it independently because they were taught at a young age.
Absolutely.
So I would say getting signed up with Accessor Ride or teaching a child about the subways and buses and things of that nature, if they're able to do that on their own or with an aid, it's always a good thing to do.
By chance, could you share a little bit about how a parent would sign up for Accessor Ride?
Sure. Well, as I always mention, we can always call 311, or you can go to the website, the Accessor Ride website, where they can take part in signing up their child. Obviously, there's an application process, and then they obviously have to go to a doctor and be certified to qualify for the Accessor Ride program. And then obviously they follow up a number of years afterwards to make sure that the person is still disabled and they still are able to have this type of convenience. But I remember when I first became disabled, I would use Accessor Ride because I figured it'd be a way to get around until I started using public transportation on my own. And, that's the best way I would say to go about learning how to get around the city, teaching them at a young age.
Absolutely. And then, in terms of, if families or a young person speak a language other than English, are there accommodations for them?
Well, we do have a diverse staff. So a lot of times I wouldn't say we get lucky, but it's great that we have a diverse staff.
Right.
Our public programs is very broad, and I don't think we've come into that situation too often where we've needed an interpreter. But for the most part, if someone is Spanish speaking or part of an Indian background or even Asian, we have a number of staff members who would be able to help out.
Right.
And hopefully they're working at that rec center that the person that speaks the language come into.
Right.
But we've even had a situation where, and I was very proud of that staff member, when we had a person who came in and they were deaf. And, the staff was kind of wondering, they don't know sign language. How do they speak to this person? And something we taught them in disability etiquette training worked. Hand them a piece of paper and a pen.
Mm.
Write down what you need,
Right.
and we can communicate that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it helps to have that kind of training.
That's incredible. This is all really great information. I know we're talking a lot about ongoing activities, but I saw there's also some one-day only free events that family can participate in as well.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit first about the Central Park Adventures?
Sure. Central Park Adventures is great. We do a lot of activities in the summertime. That generally takes place in June. But we also have Winter Jam that just recently passed. I believe it was the first week of February, the first day of February.
Gotcha.
And that's in Central Park as well. And we do a number of events and activities, and then street games, which is a popular event held, I believe, every April. And that's by our Thomas Jefferson Recreation Center, I believe East 114th Street. But that's where you kind of see just the community come together and participate in these free events. And it's great because you have New Yorkers from everywhere, different ethnicities or what have you, persons with disabilities, persons without. And we try to make sure that we have enough events that everyone can participate in and have a fun time.
And all ages? All
ages are welcome.
Incredible. Can you give us some examples for each? Because I know you mentioned Central Park Adventures, Winter Jam, and Street Game.
Yep.
What specifically happens at each of those?
Well, each of them, I'd say Central Park Adventures, we have a number of things. Like I believe we had a kayaking program one time. We do wheelchair basketball, which people non-disabled love. That's like one of our most popular events to get in sports chair and play some ball. But then, for example, wintertime, we have sledding. We have an ice sculptor at the Winter Gym. Numerous, I guess, winter-related events and things of that nature. In street games, it's kind of taking it back old school. We have, boxcar racing.
Oh, wow.
We have a skateboarding area for kids. We do a number of games that you used to kind of play back in the day in the streets. When you kind of used to mark up the street and then play things. So we have a number of vendors who come through. I think Disney was a sponsor one year, if they're still not. And there are a lot of free giveaways for the kids, an event T-shirt and things of that nature. And those are always cool because, those are things that you keep for many years to come and you could always think back. But like you mentioned, it's free. So for the most part, you don't miss out, And
it's not only free, but you just show up and participate, right? There's no pre-registration for those.
You would, once you get to the event, you do sign up because we want to make sure, once you get there, because we want to make sure that that children do get a wristband and just so that we know who's going where and make sure they're part of the events in case anything happens.
Right.
Obviously, the parent has to sign a waiver and things of that nature. But for the most part, it's fun.
Right. For all. You won't have to be concerned showing up and there's not going to be a place for you. You just show up and sign in
we have tons of space and tons of activities and tons of staff that work that event for those weekends and make it a fun day for all.
So say you're not really interested in the being overly active activities. There's also movies and concerts that you can attend, correct? So tell us a little bit about.
We do outdoor movie nights across all of the 5 boroughs, and that's great. And we do have closed captioning at the bottom of the screens, so that if people do have hearing loss or what have you, or they just want to make sure they're hearing what's going on the screen. That's at all of our movies events on a huge screen. It's a huge inflatable screen that we put in various parks, and so everyone could watch it. So it's
fun.
And then also the City Parks Foundation does a concert series over the summer in a lot of our outdoor parks. And that's a great thing too, because these events, they're free. So as we mentioned before, the community can just come out and enjoy it. Right. And I've gone to a number of the concerts. I've gone to some of the movie nights, and they're very well attended. And people leaving kind of get a certain gratification out of, hey, I just witnessed something great. I just saw a great concert. I just saw a great movie for free. So they tell friends and they come out, and that's part of being in New York, and that's part of what our public programs wants to do and encourage people to do, to get out and see what our parks have to offer. Come to our parks, participate in our programs. That's what it's about.
It's a lot to look forward to, you know, especially as the summer is coming around the corner.
And I believe a number of our urban park rangers do a lot of things in our nature centers as well. A lot of time those programs are free. So I can't forget about our urban park rangers and our nature centers that we have.
Amazing. So I know, you know, INCLUDEnyc is one of them, but you all work with nonprofits, right, that work with NYC Parks to bring in programming as well.
Sure.
Can you tell us about the nonprofits you work with and what they present?
Sure. Well, we work with a number of not-for-profits. Kids Enjoy Exercise Now, Extreme Kids and Crew, the Wheelchair Sports Federation, and a number of these programs that sometimes they're just looking to permit space, but it's a great partnership that we have, and including INCLUDEnyc, because you know, we have so much public space, and it's about making sure that everyone is accommodated. So if we have a partnership with an organization like yours, which is a great organization, I actually come to your events. It's about giving you space and allowing you to bring an audience of people. So we don't have to do so much marketing and promoting. You guys can do it and still enjoy our parks and say how great our parks are. And our park staff actually loves that. So that's when we get away from recreation to actually our parks and the managers of our parks. And for the most part, they love when they have big groups coming in, especially groups that cater to persons with disabilities. Because I think it's a feeling across the agency. We want to make sure we accommodate all. And a lot of times it felt like, oh, well, New York City parks aren't accessible enough, or the rec centers aren't accessible enough, where that's a complete, it's not the truth.
Right.
And anything that isn't accessible, we're working to make sure that it's more accessible than it currently is. That's kind of our mantra at Capital Projects. We kind of go over and beyond ADA accessibility because who knows what the future holds. So let's make it as accessible as possible to cater to all various types of disabilities.
Absolutely. I mean, we're so grateful to have worked with you over the last few years because speaking of accessible parks, I mean, Mullally Park in the Bronx, which is right next to Yankee Stadium, we're very fond of because we presented out our Outdoors for Autism event each year for the last few years. So that's really our opportunity to connect with our families by presenting a family fun day with a bunch of partners as well. And that event happens late spring every year as well. We'll be announcing that very soon, the specific details. And everyone at home can get information at www.includenyc.org, where they can also sign up for our Navigator newsletter weekly. So we'll be announcing the 4th annual Outdoors for Autism very soon.
And a great thing I love about your event is that you're not an organization that's saying, well, we want to keep all of our members to ourselves and let them come to us for information. You guys have a number of other organizations there. It's almost like a vendor fair where parents, if they bring their child or teen with a disability, no matter what their disability is, whether they're on the autistic spectrum or have a level of cerebral palsy or developmental disability, there's tons of information they could get there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the success is within the collaborations, right? You know, it's one of those situations where we're all in this together with a lot of the same type of mission for these families. And so that is, you know, that annual event is one of my favorite events in collaboration with you all for that reason, because we cannot, well, have fun with our families, but we can provide them with resources.
Tons of information.
And like you mentioned, I mean, even it's Outdoors for Autism, and we might target families of young people with autism, but it's a fully inclusive event. We get, you know, all families of all kinds, all walks of life, and that's really our goal. So.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you haven't gone in years past, go this year.
and also, thanks, Chris. And also speaking of Mullally, there's an inclusive playground that is within Mullally Park. What does that mean exactly? Can you explain?
Well, inclusive means that a child, and that's why we kind of chose that park when we were, when I was meeting with Ruth and we were looking to find out which park would be the best, the most inclusive. So we talk about inclusive playgrounds. It's a playground where a child of any disability can roll or walk into and have something to play with, have something to do, have something that captures their imagination, something for them to play with, or to kind of make them want to come back to the playground and play with that play feature in the future. So whether it be sensory panels, whether it be a ramped piece of equipment, we have so many different types of play panels that we're encouraging our play equipment manufacturers to develop, and they are, and we're kind of giving them a lot of feedback to kind of create a better product that we'll eventually purchase. So it works out well, because the main theme is, if we're creating a new playground, we want to make sure that this playground is accessible for children that move into the neighborhood or what have you for the next 10 to 20 years.
Right.
So that's really planning ahead. So that means you can't just have one piece of play equipment and we'll be fine with that. No, we need to add multiple pieces of play equipment of various levels of, I'd say, what's the word I'm looking for?
Levels of accessibility.
Well, no, in terms of strategy,
Right,
in terms of figuring it out. So it's not just a piece of play equipment. You say, oh, here's a little steering wheel, I go play with this, but something where you can create and build. We have some play pieces where you can draw on it, where you can move marbles around and make a picture out of it, or make something. So it's like we're trying to make sure that we have things that engage children for many years to come as they age and get older. So we have a 2 to 5 area and a 5 to 12 area. So we make sure to have play pieces that kind of increases that child's just attention span to these pieces of play equipment. As you know, with children, it's tough to keep their attention. So with the play panels, we want to make sure that that's something that they really kind of think about going back to that park and playing with again.
So how would I be able to find in my specific borough which playgrounds or which parks include inclusive playgrounds, or even what the plans are forthcoming?
Well, on our site, for all of our playgrounds, and that's, you would go to the facilities tab and hit playgrounds, and it would bring up all of the playgrounds in the 5 boroughs. Now, we used to have a ranking system that ranked where the playgrounds were in level of accessibility. What did it offer? Did it offer ground level play? Did it offer ramp play structure? Was there a comfort station that's accessible on the site? So we saw that, and with feedback from parents and myself and our staff, we're working with our new media team to recreate this. So we're actually adding more detail. So if we do say there's sensory play panels, okay, what does that sensory play panel involve?
Right.
If we do say we have ramp play equipment, okay, which area is it in? 2 to 5, 5 to 12? Do you have ADA swings for children with disabilities? So we're kind of making it more detailed so that parents can actually choose before they go to that playground. Oh, this is a playground I want to see because they have XYZ there. Or this is a playground that I want to go to because they have ABC there that the other playground would have XYZ didn't have. So I want to go see this playground now. We want to give parents that option. So that will be up on the website soon.
Great.
We kind of took down, I believe, the old rankings because we want to make sure that parents get the most information, most accurate information they can. And that's what we're in the process of collecting now. So it should be up, hopefully. I don't want to put ourselves in a bind, but it'll be up soon.
And remind us the URL for that, like when it's up, or where they can.
They would go to nyc.gov/parks, and then they would go to facilities and hit playgrounds.
Great. And then from playgrounds to beaches, knowing that summer's coming, right? So can you provide a little bit of information on accessible beaches for us?
Sure. All of our beaches are accessible. And when you say accessible, you say, how can a beach be accessible? It's sand. Well, we have beach mats. And we have beach mats, which are pieces of our manufacturers created. And it's basically plastic, recycled plastic that's kind of woven into each other. They come in about 6.5 feet wide and 50-foot long increments. So we attach them to each other. And what we do is when we have from the boardwalk a ramp going down to the sand, we'll have a beach mat there, and it'll take you to the water's edge, and then we'll tee it out so you can roll or walk along the water's edge. But what we also offer at all of our beaches is a beach wheelchair. All you have to do is fill out a waiver. It's free to use. And a beach wheelchair is it's just like a wheelchair, but huge inflated tires so that it rolls across the sand and doesn't sink in. all you would need is someone to push you in it.
Right.
But you can basically peruse the whole beach with it. Whereas the beach mats kind of limit to where you go. It provides accessibility, and sometimes that's what people just want to do. Just maybe go to the water, and then come back and go to the boardwalk.
Right.
But then, you might be with friends, and the friends say, hey, let's find that area of the beach over there to go to where beach mat might not go to or reach, or we might not have a ramp that goes down to that portion of the beach.
Gotcha.
The beach wheelchair, you can easily roll across the beach and go there and not be obstructed.
Do you have to plan in advance if you're interested in having a beach wheelchair, or can you show up?
You just show up. So
Okay.
it is first come, first serve, but we
Yes.
purchased a number of beach wheelchairs so that we wouldn't run out.
Mhm.
So all of our beaches are pretty well stocked.
Wow. Okay, great. And I know we're quickly getting to the last 15 minutes of our live stream. And I do want to get to a couple of questions by the end.
Sure.
But I want to remind everyone, we're covering a lot of ground here, but with all the programs we're mentioning, there's so many more out there throughout the city as well.
Yeah.
And that was one motive for the materials that we put together and sent your way. So you'll see in that packet that there are many different programs that you can reach out to get further information about as well. And I wanted to ask, for some kids or youth who might be a bit hesitant, afraid to go outside of their comfort zone, Chris, and get involved in a group activity, because sometimes it can be intimidating and take some courage.
Sure.
What advice would you give them?
I would say just try it out, or maybe go with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
If you do feel kind of, maybe shy, or, you're nervous about going to recreation center for the first time on your own, depending on your age level as well, depending on if the child is disabled or not. Always go with a friend, or maybe go with a parent, a family member. Check it out. We always have staff that's available to give you a tour of our facilities.
Right.
When you do go to a recreation center.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just encourage people to just try it out, just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you hear about a local event going on at that recreation center, go show up. Go to our website and see if there's any you need to RSVP or what have you.
Right.
But you can easily go to our calendar of events and find out what's going on in your neighborhood. But the main thing is just getting out and doing it.
Right.
Because if you hold yourself back from doing it, or if a parent doesn't encourage their child to do it enough, they'll be at home. And I know for a lot of parents, they want their kids to get out and be a part of everything that's going on in the neighborhood. So I would just encourage the kids to just try it out. Go with a friend, go with a family member.
Amazing. And any words of advice for the parents as well?
Same as a kid, just try it out.
Absolutely.
Drag your kid there, or let your kid drag you there in case they want to go, but you're kind of hesitant. I would say just go. Come to our rec centers. We have a great welcoming staff that'll give you the basic layout of our rec centers and our sites. And I would say that's where it would start.
Great. All right. So, at this time, I'm going to take a look at our board here. I know a couple of questions have come in. So, Chris, I don't know if you mind. The first question is, are there any financial resources for summer camps if I'm unable to afford them?
That's a good question. I don't believe there are, but for the most part, I would say you could go to our website for more information, nyc.gov/parks programs, then go to summer camps, and it'll give you information. But we do have a payment program, whereas you pay, I believe, $100 a month or every 2 weeks or so. So we do try to make sure that it's a way that parents don't just have to put the money up front in the beginning, but that you can pay it out gradually until the camp starts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great way for a lot of parents who might not be able to afford it all at once to be able to afford it for their child if they get selected in the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say if we offer any grants or any scholarships for it, you can go to our website for more information on summer camps.
Great. Are all NYC parks summer camps accessible?
Yes. Yes, we try to make sure that we have them in facilities that are universally accessible, because if a child does get chosen within a lottery and they're disabled, we don't want to make sure we have to switch a site. So we try to make sure, and we're actually doing a lot of new construction and planned construction in our recreation centers to make them more accessible than they are now. But I would say, yes, our summer camps are accessible.
Thanks for everyone for sending in some questions. The next question we have that came through is, can a care provider go in the pool with a disabled client who can't swim alone?
I would say, and that question has come up a lot. We've had this situation occur. I would say yes. A care provider or a caregiver can go on into our pools without having to be harassed or worried. The key thing is safety,
right,
for the child or the teen with a disability.
Right.
And we've had that question come up in the past. So yes, we try to make sure that the caregiver can get in the pool, meaning if they have to hold their child or even teaching their child how to swim if they're not in our adaptive aquatics classes, to be able to make sure that their child is safe, but then be able to enjoy our pools, especially when the outdoor pools open in the summer and they're free for the public.
Absolutely. Next question we have is, what is the age for adaptive swimming, and where exactly are the pools?
The age for adaptive swimming, I believe it starts at 8,
Okay.
8 and older. And where the adaptive pools are actually anywhere and everywhere within the city. So for the most part, when we do it indoors, we have it at a number of select locations, such as Roy Wilkins Recreation Center, Metropolitan Pool, Lasser Levy Pool, St. Mary's Gym in the Bronx, Gertrude Ederle out in Manhattan. So those are the main centers where we have our adaptive aquatics programs, usually Olympic size or larger size pools. But then in the summertime, we do it at our larger Olympic size pools all across the city. So instead of having 1 or 2 pools during the cold weather month in our recreation centers, we have a number of locations within each borough that people can go to for adaptive aquatics. Our adaptive aquatics staff is very well trained, and they love what they do, especially when they're working with children with disabilities. So I encourage people to sign up for those lotteries. They're offered, I believe, quarterly. But it's a great program if you want your child to learn how to swim the right way and the safe way. Our adaptive aquatic staff is great. And you figure it's for the price of what you would pay for private, we offer a lot of these services in our recreation centers and outdoor pools.
Perfect. Any programs out there for children who are interested in theater or acting that you're aware of?
Yes, we do a number of programs in our recreation centers that cater to that. And that's a great thing. You would find out about that on our website. You can obviously go, as we mentioned before, nyc.gov/parks. Then you go to facilities and you choose a recreation center that's in your neighborhood, and you can check all of the programming that's going on. But we have done that in the past with specific groups, especially during the summer times. So I would say yes, we do offer that.
And I also want to remind everyone, other than the materials that we email to you all to accompany this live stream, INCLUDEnyc.org also has a recreation and community link at the bottom of their website. So you can also look at our website to refer to and see all programs, and that includes some theater programs as well. In terms of, let's see, our next question is, do you have yoga meditation programs for kids and adults?
We do sit and fit, and we do yoga I believe we have done yoga, but I believe that's a specific program. I believe it's offered at certain recreation centers, not all, but we've had that programming before, adaptive yoga. But meditation, I don't believe we've done meditation programs for kids. I hope that we would eventually, because that seems like it would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past us if we haven't done it in the past, because we've done. Our public program staff is great, and they do what the community generally wants or requests. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have done it in the past. But it's a great program, so I'll definitely make note of that and pass that along and actually find out definitively for myself. But I wouldn't want to take it away from what our public programs have done. So I would say we probably have done it in the past.
And music programs.
Yeah, we do music programs out of our media education labs. And that's pretty cool because I I went to a recreation center the other day to check on some programming that was going on and accessibility there. And I went to the media education lab room, and we had our staff there creating a song with one of the team members. And it was so cool because it's almost like you're going into a recording studio with like a well-known artist, and you're kind of watching them from the background, like, oh, I bought your album years ago, but these are just teens and kids, and they were working with our staff, and the music and the lyrics and everything they were saying was so positive, and it was great. And I was like, wow, we're creating this in our recreation center and our media education lab. So yeah, so our media education labs, we have a number of facilities designed with recording equipment that if that's your skill set, or if that's your goal in life, and you want to be able to have a place to go to do it without obviously paying the expensive amount it is to go to a recording studio, and then not even have the staff or available to help you to learn how to use the equipment and how to basically better your craft or skill in terms of singing and producing music. You get it right at our recreation centers. So we do that a lot, music production. And so that is something, and it's something I witnessed the other day. So, and I would say for children of all abilities. Children, teens, and adults of all abilities. So it wouldn't be specifically for non-disabled children. No, children have talent. Children, teens, adults have talent, no matter if they're disabled or not. So we encourage them to come in. If they do have a talent, explore it with us through our media education labs. We have a great staff there. They're led by a great director. So they're pretty much on point in what's going on in the world today.
Incredible. Thank you, everyone, for your questions that you sent in.
Those were pretty good. Good questions.
We're narrowing down. We're getting to the last couple of minutes. And I just wanted, before we wrap up, Chris, of everything that we covered, any other recreation programs around the city that you would like to share information about that maybe we didn't cover?
Yeah, I think we covered everything, but as I'm going through my notes, but I would just say the main thing is to go to our website, nyc.gov/parks, and look at programs. You can look at the calendar. If you're looking for events in accessible locations, when you go to our website, you would just click on the wheelchair button, accessibility tab, and it'll bring you to a calendar of events that we're doing that are in fully accessible locations or maybe catered to persons with disabilities. We have a number of art programs that we do, as we mentioned before. So I'm thinking one offhand is Poe Park Visitors Center, and we do a lot of great things there with children with disabilities. So we try to make sure that we have a lot of things going around citywide and not just specifically one center, but try to make sure that every specific borough has something to offer.
Absolutely. And I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of even our INCLUDEnyc fair that we do annually. It's one of the largest annual New York City resource fairs that is free for families with young people with disabilities. It takes place each winter, usually at the end of January. So make sure you subscribe to our weekly Navigator newsletter to get updates, not only on our events, but our trainings, resources, etc. So all you have to do is actually put your name and email. On our homepage, there's a slot, the bottom right, I believe, on our homepage. Chris, it's been great.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in. This has been great information. We're very grateful to work with you with all of our events and the fact that you provided a lot of information. So I just wanted to thank you, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next month for another INCLUDEnyc Live. If you have any direct support that you need, please call our helpline at 212-677-4660, and we'll see you next month. Thanks, Chris.
Again, Rich. It was a pleasure. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.